4.3a quotient of powers. So let's do a little bit of fraction review. We're going to simplify these fractions. 10 divided by 10 equals 1. 20 divided by 30 becomes 2/3. 6 divided by 8 becomes 3/4. Let's look at the next two. We need to make sure we're careful about these. 4 divided by 2. Well, if I have 4 ice cream cones and 2 people, that means each person gets 2. However, if I have 2 ice cream cones, if I have 2 ice cream cones and 4 people, that means that each person gets half of a cone. So the basic idea for working with quotients of powers. We're going to expand each expression and then write each quotient as a simplified power. A calculator will be helpful for working with numerical fractions. So we have x to the 5th divided by x to the 3rd. That's x. You have 5 x's in the numerator divided by 3 x's in the denominator. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cross out. Oops, I'm going to change that color. My like terms in the numerator and denominator. This leaves me with an x times x in the numerator, which is x squared. Now, the remaining problems, you can continue doing these for examples 2 through 4. However, we have learned the shortcut of if we are dividing the same bases, you subtract the exponent. So a to the 4th minus 1 simplifies down to a to the 3rd, or a cubed. Example 3, 3 to the 7th minus 2 becomes 3 to the 5th. Example 4, y to the 10th minus 3 becomes y to the 7th. So example 5, what do you think 10 to the 20th divided by 10 to the x power would be? Well, if we did, I meant to say x to the 20th divided by x to the 2nd. So x to the 20th minus 2 becomes x to the 18th power. You could expand it out by writing 20 x's in the numerator, 2 in the denominator, and crossing out your like terms, simplifying. However, this gives us less work. So now that we have the basic idea, let's try some more complex problems. We're going to simplify 3/6. Well, 3/6 simplifies down to 1/2. X to the 4th divided by x to the 3rd, so that's x to the 4th minus 3, x to the 1st. Then we have cx to the 4th divided by 6x to the 3rd. Well, you know what? I was able to do 3 divided by 6, and then x to the 4th divided by x to the 3rd easily when they were separated by doing 1a and 1b. 1c is just taking 1a and 1b and combining them. So to show that work, I would do 3 divided by 6 times x to the 4th divided by x to the 3rd. So 3/6 simplifies down to 1/2 times x to the 4th minus 3, 1/2 x. Or you could have x divided by 2. I will personally keep it as 1/2 x. So let's look at 2a. 10/12 simplifies down to 5/6. X to the 7th divided by x to the 3rd is x to the 7th minus 3. So that's x to the 4th power. Well, 2c is just combining 2a and 2b, but I want to show all the work together. So I'm going to take 10/12 as my fraction and multiply by the fraction of x to the 7th divided by x to the 3rd. So 10/12 reduces down to 5/6 times x to the 7th minus 3. That becomes 5/6 x to the 4th. Again, I personally keep x to the 4th off to the right. 5/6, I treat that as a coefficient. All right, number 3. We're going to simplify x to the 5th b squared divided by oh my goodness, I apologize. A to the 5th b squared divided by a to the 3rd b. Well, first and foremost, I'm going to put my imaginary 1 with that b, and I'm going to make this into two separate fractions. A to the 5th divided by a to the 3rd times b squared divided by b to the 1st. Now I'm going to subtract my exponents for a and my exponents for b because they have the same base and I'm dividing them. A to the 5th minus 3 times b to the 2nd minus 1. A to the 5th minus 3 is a squared times b to the 2nd minus 1 is b to the 1st. So you could have it as a squared b to the 1st or a squared b. It's up to you on whether or not you want the 1 with the b. Both ways are appropriate. Let's try number 4. We're going to simplify x to the 9th divided by x to the 3rd. X to the 9th minus 3, so x to the 6th power. Number 5, I'm going to simplify x to the 7th divided by x to the 7th. That gives me x to the 0 power, which is actually 1. Anytime you have any type of number to the power of 0, it's automatically going to be equal to 1. We'll get more into that in the next section, but introducing that idea now. So let's look at number 6. We're going to simplify 2a to the 5th b to the 9th divided by 8a to the 3rd b, and I'm going to put an imaginary 1 with that b. Okay, this looks complicated, but let's break it down. We have our coefficients of 2 divided by 8 times our a terms, a to the 5th divided by a to the 3rd, times our b terms of b to the 9th divided by b to the 1st. Well, when we break it up and we put our like terms together, it makes it easier for simplifying. 2/8 reduces down to 1/4 times a to the 5th minus 3. We're subtracting them because we are dividing the bases, times b to the 9th minus 1. So that gives me 1/4 a squared b to the 8th. That's my final answer. So let's review. Expand and simplify. Well, as a reminder, if you want to make x squared times x to the 5th as 2x's times 5x's and have the final answer of x to the 7th, you can do it that way. Or you can make it x squared plus 5, which is x to the 7th. Again, same answer, just depends on which way you feel more comfortable. For number 8, I want to take my coefficients of 3 and 4 and multiply those, 3 times 4. And then x squared times x to the 5th. 3 times 4 is 12. X to the 2nd plus 3 because I'm multiplying both bases, so I add the exponents. So that gives me 12x to the 7th. All right, for number 9, I want to distribute this 3 to both my 3 and x. So that's 3 to the 3rd power, x to the 3rd power. So 3 to the 3rd power, we do want to simplify that down to the number of 27. Or I'm sorry, we want to simplify it to the number 27. And then x to the 3rd is just x to the 3rd. For number 10, I want to distribute this 2 to the 4. So x to the 4 times 2. Again, when you have one base and two exponents, you multiply those. So that's x to the 8th power. 2 more problems to review. Number 11, I'm going to take this 2 and distribute it to the 4 and to the power of 3. So 4 squared, x to the 3rd, that quantity squared. 4 squared is 16. X to the 3rd times 3 becomes 16x to the 6th. Remember, this part is review. Number 12, when you have two bases that you're dividing, that means you subtract the exponents. A to the 10th minus 4, so that's a to the 6th.